Okay, everyone, thanks for joining us. Thanks for your patience. As you can see, we have President of Hockey Operations and General Manager Chuck Fletcher. Let's take questions right away. Please use the raise hand function located at the bottom of your screen if you wish to ask Chuck a question. And use that same function to lower your hand so we know you do not have a follow-up. Questions for Chuck?
This meeting is being recorded.
Sam Carchidi, you're on with Chuck. Go ahead.
Hey, Sam.
Hey, Chuck. Before we get into what you did do today, when today started, did you think that you could make a big splash, or were you kind of resigned to the fact that you would probably have to do that in the off season?
Yeah, I mean, based on my conversations from the last few weeks, Sam, there wasn't anything imminent. I haven't seen the whole trade list yet for today, but the vast majority of trades involved, players on expiring contracts. And I woke up this morning not knowing whether we would trade Scott Laughton or sign him, and that was the big decision today. And we're very pleased that we were able to re-sign Scott.
Sam, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah. Looking ahead to the off season, then obviously number one, a first pairing defenseman is on your wish list. Is there anything else that you think this team needs to add, since we're talking about trades right now?
Well, we still have 15 games to play, and I realize we're 4 games out, and Boston have a couple games in hand. But right now, we're still in the fight, and at the end of the season, we'll sit down with our group, and we'll have a lot of time to go through. We've already been working on some of those issues this past week, but I think it's a little bit too early to get into what we need to do. We still have to perform a review of the season with our group, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of ideas at the right time, but I think it's a little premature to talk about that.
Charlie O'Connor, you're on with Chuck. Go ahead.
Hey, Chuck.
Hey, Charlie.
You mentioned about waking up this morning and not knowing whether you guys are going to sign Scott Laughton or trade him. What drove the decision to sign him rather than trade him? Was the market not offering what you guys would have wanted to get back in a trade, or was it something else?
No, Scott Laughton, wanted to be a Flyer, and so essentially the deal got done. We started working on it prior to the season, and at that time we tabled talks until basically the last week, and both sides worked hard, and I give Scott credit, and we've had a lot of conversations the last few days, and we were able to come to agreement this morning. So that was the impetus for the deal. Certainly there was a lot of interest in Scott Laughton, but we value him highly, and we were happy with the deal and very happy with Scott. The versatility he brings, the energy, moves around your lineup. He contributes offense. He can kill penalties, and what I found out the last few days kind of confirmed our own opinion of Scott, that he's a very valuable guy, and we're very happy to have him signed.
Jordan Hall, you're on with Chuck. Go ahead.
Hi, Chuck.
Hi, Jordan.
Just wondering, with Sunday's game, just how much did that loss play a factor in your motives today? And if you had won that game, do you think you maybe would have thought about adding a piece or two?
Well, yeah, maybe I don't know about yesterday, but maybe the last couple of weeks, if we had been able to gain a little bit more ground, then we certainly look to maybe be more aggressive in terms of buying. I guess I'm just looking at this a little bit longer term. We're certainly in the fight right now, and we're going to continue to fight, but we may need some assets here over the next few months to address some of the needs that we have going forward. And frankly, that may be a better use of some of those assets. So this gives some of our other players an opportunity to play. Tanner Lazinski is on our active roster now for the rest of the season, so we'll give him a chance to play. And there's certainly some other players either on our taxi squad or in Lehigh Valley that, in my opinion, deserve a chance to play and may be able to come up and provide us a spark and play well. So I think this is an opportunity for the group that's here to rally around each other and push hard to the end, and certainly an opportunity maybe for some players to continue to play in big roles. And with respect to a player like Eric Gustafson, clearly it didn't work. Eric wasn't playing, and I thought it was very important, not just from our perspective, but from Eric's perspective, to give him a chance to play. So by moving him to Montreal, hopefully we give him that opportunity to get a chance to get in the lineup and help his career along. And part of the reason we can do that is the emergence of Sam Moran, the continued resurgence too of Shane Gostisbehere. Just kind of remarkable how well he's been playing, how he continues to grow, and we have other defensemen that maybe deserve a chance. So I think with Eric, it was more, we feel we have pretty good depth on D right now. I do certainly want to mention, Michael Raffel. Just can't thank him enough for his 8 years of service to this organization. A player that played very well for us for many years, moved around our lineup, played left wing, center, right wing, penalty kill, played hurt a lot this year. He's hurt right now. And, almost refused to be taken out of the lineup. And, hopefully Michael gets a chance to, have a big role on the Capitals, and it's a good opportunity for him. But, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Mike Raffel for everything he's done, for the Philadelphia Flyers.
Mike Sealski, you're on with Chuck. Go ahead.
Hey, Chuck. The last time you spoke to us in one of these settings, you mentioned that it was fair to say that the makeup of the group was not right. What did you mean by makeup? Are you talking about intangibles? Are you talking about a style of play, positions? What do you mean by makeup?
Well, duplication of roles for some of our players. I think I think our defense in particular probably isn't set up in an ideal way. And that's something we're going to have to look at. And I think as we go forward at the end of the year, we'll sit down with our group, and we have some pretty good ideas of things we want to do. But, there's still some games to be played and still some opportunities here for players to make an impression on us before the end of the season.
Anthony Sanfilippo, you're on with Chuck. Go ahead.
Hey, Chuck. Getting back to Scott Laughton real quick. Since you said there was so much interest, obviously, from around the league in Scott, was it a situation for you where you thought it would be better to sign him now rather than acquire another asset and then try to compete against X number of teams in the offseason to re-sign him as a free agent?
Yeah, those type of players are hard to get. And, Scott was drafted by the Flyers. We developed him. He loves being a Flyer. And at the end of the day, he made a commitment to us today to sign and stay with us. And, it's hard to get those players. And I think we have a couple other holes on our team. And the thought of creating an additional hole, to me, wasn't very appealing. He's part of the solution for us going forward. And we were able to lock him up to a contract that we feel works for us going forward, and obviously works for Scott.
Ed Barkowitz, you're on with Chuck. Go ahead.
Hey, Chuck. Can you just describe how unique this season, this trade deadline was for all the managers, whether it's, the COVID, the expansion, the shortened season, just how difficult or how different was it this season?
I think it's the trade deadline was somewhat similar for us. For example, Eric Gustafson being traded to Montreal now, they have to work on getting him up there, and he has to quarantine. And so certainly I think the teams north of the border probably have, more hoops they have to jump through than we do. Our situation is probably a little bit different depending on the mode of travel and how you bring a player in. But, I think the pandemic certainly has had an impact. I think the flat cap continues to have a big impact on a lot of the conversations I'm having, and it should make for an interesting summer here as teams jockey and maneuver and try to build their roster for next year.
Joe Fordyce, you're on with Chuck. Go ahead.
Hi, Chuck. I had a question for you about when you see the other moves, but the teams you mentioned being 4 points back, the teams that are in front of you in the division, did you feel an extra onus to try to make a deal, or were the deals that you feel need to be made more suited for the offseason?
Yeah, I mean, the situation we put ourselves in, our reality, that's what led to our situation today. Again, the priority was really looking at Scott Laughton. If we subtracted him from our lineup, that would be a big hole, not just for this year, but going forward. So we felt it was important to address that situation. And, as we move forward here, obviously we'll have a lot of decisions to make in the off season. But the way I look at our group is, we have enough talent to win more games than what we've won and to play better than how we played. And there's certainly an opportunity for this group to finish strong and again leave a positive impression on all of us.
Steve Wino, you're on with Chuck. Go ahead.
Hey Chuck, just how difficult was it to be a seller or just be making trades given the flat cap this year?
Yeah, we didn't really have a lot of players to sell. If you look at our pending UFAs, we made a decision on Scott Laughton. We moved Michael Raffle and Eric Gustafson, and Brian Elliott is a guy that we value highly right now and has done a good job for us. So, the majority of conversations I have with managers were about pending UFAs. There was some hockey talk. Some of that may be helpful going into the summer, but I didn't really feel a strong push from a lot of teams looking to make those kind of deals right now. And a lot of teams are still in the playoff race or trying to get back in, and that's the focus right now for most teams.
Wayne Fish, you're on with Chuck. Go ahead.
Hi, Chuck.
Hey, Wayne.
A few weeks ago, you said that it's difficult to find a player that fits the Matt Niskanen profile. I'm just wondering if you feel like there might be a better chance of something like that happening in the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, assuming that's a profile we try to fill, but that type of player's pretty hard to find. But there's different types of defensemen. There's puck-moving offensive defensemen. There's defensive defensemen, and there are a few, I guess, that combine both. But we'll just have to see what the opportunities are in the summer, and we'll also have to continue to see how some of our defensemen play here for the rest of the season.
We'll take a few more questions. Sam Carchidi, you're on with Chuck. Go ahead.
Yeah, Chuck, by signing Scott Laughton today, I assume you're going to protect him in the expansion draft. Before this season started, did you look at him as a guy you would protect, or did you think that he had to show you a lot this year before you decided to do that?
No, he was a guy that I think Scott continues to evolve and improve. And obviously last year he had a particularly strong season. So he's always been in our plans for the future, assuming we could re-sign him. So that hasn't really changed any of our plans. Just the good news we got today is we were able to bring him back.
Charlie O'Connor, you're on with Chuck. Go ahead.
Chuck, going into the season, I think there was an expectation, on the part of the fans, and I suspect within the organization too, that you guys would be in a position to be buyers at the deadline. Obviously, that's not how it played out. But does that fact add to the pressure to make this an especially active offseason? And I guess should fans that are frustrated with how the season has gone so far, should they expect that?
Well, we're certainly have much higher expectations than for our club than how we played this year. So, my goal in the off season is to make this team the best we can make it. And we fully expect to be a quality hockey team next year that, again, is in a much different position this time next year.
We'll take two more questions. Mike Sealski, you're on with Chuck. Go ahead.
Yeah, Chuck, and getting that mix right that you talked about in the offseason, will you consider changes to the coaching staff as well?
No.
We'll do one more question. Anthony Sanfilippo, you're on with Chuck. Go ahead.
Yeah, Chuck, you touched on this briefly on an earlier question, but obviously there weren't very many hockey trades made here at the deadline. But do you feel as if there was some good groundwork that was laid for you to kind of think about as you move forward into the off season?
I hope so. Certainly, over the last, even going back to last off season, I've had numerous conversations with essentially every general manager. I can't say there's a few teams in our division that we're not talking trade every day, but with most of the teams in this league, I've had numerous conversations, and I think I have a pretty good feel for where they're at and what they're looking to do. And so that work continues all year long. And again, I think there's a lot of teams, looking to make changes this summer. And at that time, we'll certainly be in a position to know what teams are looking at.
Okay, Chuck, thank you very much for your time.
Yep. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, everyone, that concludes Flyers media availability for today. Be on the lookout for audio and video of today's press conference coming your way, as well as the schedule for tomorrow's media availability. Have a good day, everyone.